just one more kiss. I'll tell the world that I'm all for just one more kiss. True love could not help but fall for a night like this. So while soft moonbeams dance, let us seal our romance with just one more kiss.
He's happy, no wonder he's happy, while I'm cooking breakfast for the one I love.
Biederbecke, jazz musician, born 1903, died 1931. He's been called the best cornet player of the 1920s, an undisciplined talent and a true child of the jazz age, whose sensitive and introspective style of playing foreshadowed the cool jazz sound of later decades. But Biederbecke was also a self-destructive alcoholic who drank himself into the ground with illegal prohibition liquor by the age of 28. Yeah, so much for the Temperance League, and yeah, the Volstead Acts. You know, in the space of 70 plus years between them, people still got shit first. Anyway, off digressing. Bix never learned to read music. He didn't need to, having an instinctive ear for it, learning tunes by himself with a beat-up second-hand cornet. Actually, that could be a good comparative video, I guess. Mozart and Bix. Raised in Davenport, Iowa, in comfortably off middle-class surroundings, his parents disapproved of his passion for jazz. This degenerate music born in the brothels of New Orleans, it was a rebellious act, a slap in the face of their bourgeois lifestyle. Especially owing was his lack of interest in anything else, resulting in poor grades at school. A worse shock to come. Start that again. Take two. Who hired this guy? What the if you know Mortal Kombat 11, I guess. A worse shock was to come when Bix, who just turned 18, was arrested for what amounted to abducting a 5-year-old girl, Jesus, and locking her in a garage, or garage if you prefer, whichever, where he committed an act deemed lewd and lascivious. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, whatever. By the police, although no charges were ever brought. Discreetly, one suspects, Bix was shunted off to an exclusive boarding school outside Chicago. His parents obviously unaware that the city was a jazz hotspot ruled by Al Capone and populated by fast cars and flappers. Bix soon formed a combo of like-minded musicians who sneaked out of school to play and drink in speakeasy clubs. When the Education Authority found out, the band were grounded. As revenge, they got rat-arsed on the only alcohol they could find in the school property. A bottle of face lotion that was a potent 85% proof. After further misdemeanors, Bix was expelled and not only too happy to be so. And now he had the freedom to pursue his career in jazz, a decision his parents apparently never forgave him for. First, he joined a few local bands after graduating to orchestras with no more nationwide appeal. He also enrolled in the University of Iowa to further his musical education, but was kicked out after getting into a drunken fight in a bar. Bix's college career lasted exactly 18 days. Well, you know, it's nice to know that I did better at my recycling manual labour job than lasted longer than him attempting college. At least I managed 2 years of that. Media college, not jazz college. I probably would have lasted less, actually. Can't read a musical notes have saved my life. And music's sort of in my blood. Sort of. 2 granddads. By now, Bix had developed a taste for hard liquor. As early as 1924, he was drinking large measures of neat gin in lieu of breakfast. Ugh. Even in a profession where getting plastered was a statutory requirement, Bix's boozing was legendary. When he couldn't get his hands on whiskey or gin, he was reported to drink pure alcohol mixed with lemon drops. Bix's drinking coincided with Prohibition. He were risking more than just a hangover pouring bootleg liquor down your neck. A simple sample of this stuff sold in the streets of Harlem. Speaking of, I was watching a Cheers episode earlier about Benny King, and I thought of Spanish Harlem, but that's tangentially related. In the words of Damien Maloney in Being Human, Hal York. Anyway, I'll shut the fuck up. Was once taken to a lab for analysis and it found to contain wood, alcohol, benzene, kerosene, nicotine, formaldehyde, iodine, sulfuric acid, and soap. No wonder suckers who got hooked on it suffered blackouts, advanced aging, partial blindness, and paralysis. Playing one time in Indiana, Bix bought handmade whiskey off a couple of old bootleggers. After drinking all day with some band members, the stock ran out. "I just remembered," said Bix. "I got a spare gallon right up the hill." Or on the hill, even. They sneaked out of rehearsals with Bix leading the way like a frontier scout, crossed fields over a railway line, and lastly, a barbed wire fence. Bix started digging and sure enough came across his stashed jug of booze. Heading back, someone got stuck on the wire, and while the others helped him off, Bix sat down on the railway tracks for a breather. Just then, a fast-moving train came hurtling round the bend. The group screamed and hollered, but Bix paid no attention, thinking it was a practical joke. Only at the last second, with the train a mere 100 feet from him, did Bix sense the danger and roll off the track in time. One night, a cornhole Bix left the bandstand in too much of a hurry and fell down the stairs, knocking out a front tooth. Now, teeth being a pretty important element in playing the cornet, Bix visited a dentist and had a new one fitted. But sometimes during gigs, it would pop out, causing Bix to fly off his chair and begin crawling up and down the stage in search for it. In one memorable occasion, he roped in half the orchestra to hunt for the damn thing, while the other musicians carried on playing, and the audience watched dumbstruck. When his tooth wasn't making dramatic escape attempts from his mouth, Bix was frequently falling asleep during gigs, due to no doubt a little helping from the bottle of gin he kept in a bucket of ice under his chair. One band leader, Paul Whiteman, came up with a novel way to make sure Bix was ready for his solo, scribbling on the music score a special direction for the second trumpeter a few beats before Biederbecke was on. It read, "Wake up, Bix." Whiteman's orchestra was the most popular band of the 1920s, and Bix enjoyed the prestige and money of playing with such an ensemble. But it didn't stop his drinking. In 1929, he suffered from delirium tremens and had a nervous breakdown. Was it tremens? Never seen that word. He literally went to pieces and smashed up a hotel room. A full 40 years before the Rolling Stones. In a bid to recover, I don't know why there's no comma. I am a passionate Oxford comma user. May Adam Smith be smiling down upon me, as it were. Bix returned home to the home of his parents, with Whiteman promising the musician that there will always be a place in his orchestra for him, but Bix was destined to never rejoin them. The next couple of years saw a marked decline in his health and a deterioration of his once youthful body. He began to have trouble walking, had strong nocturnal cramps, convulsions, and shakes that disturbed his sleep. Several stays in rehabilitation centres attempted to dry out never worked, as he'd just fall back into bad habits. A friend recalled Bix driving home from a jazz club one evening when he started shivering and yelling, "I have to have it! Pull over!" I don't know how he sounded. Down some squalid alley was a bootlegger's, and Bix disappeared into the gloom. A few minutes later, he was back in the car holding a half pint of booze that he said he was going to take to bed with him. In New York, Bix recorded some tunes with his friend Hoagie Carmichael, and then disappeared into his own dark nightmarish world, holed up in a rooming house in Queens, where he drank himself into regular stupors. Throughout the spring and summer of 1931, Bix had a continual cold and was weak to the point of exhaustion. It sounds like how Jim Morrison died, sort of. Makes sense. And Alexander the Great. Weakened immune systems from just absolutely poisoning yourself with booze. Yeah, Makes complete sense. One evening, the landlord heard strange noises and yells coming from his lodger's apartment. He rushed in to find Bix in a state of hysteria, his body trembling violently and insisting that 2 Mexicans were hiding under his bed with long daggers. The landlord tried to reassure him that there was nothing there when Bix suddenly staggered forward and fell as a dead weight into the man's arms. His body had finally had enough. And that's the end of it. And, before I finish recording, I know I did say that I was, there was an episode I did, like on one of my, in my last Let's Go Read a Book, Let's Open a Book episode, that I was going to do some particular ones, one of my original stories, and another one. It might have been this, I can't remember, or it might have been, actually, it would have been, the In Conversation with Ray Harryhausen, from John Landis's Monsters at the Movies. I decided to just, I guess, favourite word, I guess, digress, signature word, digress from that, and continue. Well, before that, I think, I will. The next Let's Go Read a Book episode will be, 2 episodes in a row, will be the original story and more of Monsters at the Movies. So, I'll put that in as a reference in the description. So, just stay tuned for that and all that. So, that's the end of another entry from An A to Z of Hellraisers by Robert Sellers. So,